Welcome to Heritage Highlights. We have a return of Stuart Manson. We're going to be visiting some local cemeteries. I'll let Stuart introduce the topic.
Yeah, local cemeteries are really interesting spots. They add color and texture to our local history in a publicly accessible and kind of a tangible landmark site.
Excellent. Let's cut to our clip.
So here we are at Maple Grove Cemetery, an important Loyalist burial ground in the city of Cornwall. It's on the outskirts of the city. Vincent Massey Drive and Power Dam are close by, but it wasn't always here. The original Maple Grove Cemetery was located west of Cornwall in the area that was affected by the St. Lawrence Seaway and Power Project. That construction project inundated a lot of the area upstream west of Cornwall, and it required the moving of villages and cemeteries as well. But in some cases, only the tombstones were removed from cemeteries. Some of the remains sometimes were moved, other remains were left out in the flooded area. And the reason for this was local clergy often advocated that the remains be left where they lie to rest in peace. But Maple Grove is different. Maple Grove was located in an area that was subject to a deep excavation in the Seaway project, so there was no way to leave the remains, the bodies, where they were. So the entire cemetery, all the remains and all of the tombstones were removed and set up here in the new location outside the main part of Cornwall. The French family, headed by Jeremiah and Elizabeth French, were central to the history of the original Maple Grove Cemetery. They were Loyalists from Vermont and settled in the original Maple Grove area in 1784, the year of the original Loyalist settlement in our area. The cemetery started out as a family cemetery for the French family, but was later transferred, a parcel of their land was transferred from the French family to the Anglican parish here in Cornwall, and now it is part of the Anglican parish cemeteries here. The French family is notable in the area for three reasons. The first was that Jeremiah French was Stormont County's first representative in the Upper Canadian Parliament. Upper Canada was created in 1791, and in 1792 its first parliament was formed, and Stormont County had its own member, and Jeremiah French was the first member of this constituency. Secondly, the French household that was in Maple Grove was transferred or moved to Upper Canada Village at the time of the Seaway in the 1950s. It was at first known as the French Robertson House there, but is now known just as the Robertson House. They dropped the French name likely because the original French household dwelling is deep within later editions of that house. And third, the French family is notable, Jeremiah in particular, because his uniform is in the Canadian War Museum in Ottawa. His uniform of the King's Royal Regiment of New York, the last Loyalist regiment in which he served during the American Revolutionary War. Their original tombstone and their burial was moved here to the new Maple Grove Cemetery, but the original tombstone was broken either before it was moved or afterwards here. And what we stand before us today is a new tombstone that was established in 2005. The United Empire Loyalist Association of Canada and the King's Royal Regiment Reenactment Group came together to erect a new stone that describes the French family, Jeremiah and Elizabeth, and provides a little more history of the family and their experiences during the American Revolutionary War. So here we are in St. Andrew's Roman Catholic Cemetery in the small village of St. Andrews West. St. Andrews West was an important and an early Loyalist cemetery and community in just along the banks of the Raisin River, which meanders its way through Glengarry County into the back part of Stormont County and Cornwall Township here in St. Andrews. There are actually two cemeteries here. The original one is along the banks of the river to the north of the church, and the other, the more modern cemetery, although it does also contain old heritage tombstones, is located on the hill to the south of the church and is much larger than the original small one where we are today. This cemetery is unusual because it contains a replica of the original log chapel that the Loyalists built in circa 1784 when the community was established and when this part of the cemetery was established. This cemetery is historically important for a number of reasons, but at the top of the list are two, and that is it's the final resting place of John Sandfield MacDonald. He was the first Premier of Ontario in 1867. He was born in St. Raffles in Glengarry County and lived in Cornwall for a number of years. The second notable person is Simon Fraser. He was a famous fur trader and explorer in the Northwest Company. He had a farm just up the road here, just up the post road, and he is famous because he was the first non-Indigenous person to explore and travel down what is now the Fraser River in British Columbia. And he also has a university named after him in Vancouver. One of the most important tombstones here in St. Andrew's Roman Catholic Cemetery is that of Alexander MacDonald. It's important for a couple reasons. First, it has one of the earliest, or the earliest, death date stated on a stone, 1799. Although the stone itself dates from a later period, you can tell by the style of carving and the design, and even the stone used, it's from a later period, likely when his wife died in the 1820s.